Hi, everybody. It's an absolute honor to have you here. Today, I talked with one of my favorite people I've ever met. He's a self improvement influencer who challenges the traditional self improvement arc. I absolutely love his views on becoming your best self. It's like very different than anything I've ever heard. And his rejection of shame based improvement is surprisingly not Gen Z, which I think is awesome regardless, but it's something that I think we need more of. One thing I love about Josh is he's exactly the same live as he is in his content. He has a wonderful flow. And on top of that, his vision stems from making the world a better place, not only in his eyes, but honestly in mine too. Everything he stands for is just very admirable. I hope listening to this is at least half as fun as it was to record because talking to Josh is a privilege. So without further ado, please welcome Josh Czuba. Because you have a very unique approach to self-development, right? So can you give us a little bit of who you are and what that neat approach is?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. I make videos online about mental health and how to live a meaningful life in the digital age. It's something I'm exploring myself. I'm not an expert. I'm navigating it along with everyone else. But one thing that I found is that in a media environment that's really saturated with traditional self-improvement content that really infuses you with a lot of shame and negative emotion, a more effective approach, at least for me, has been leaning into this idea of character creation, which is it's a more holistic view of yourself. It's not, oh, I need to get better across this time horizon up and to the right. It's it's not even seeing yourself on a bar chart like that. It's really accepting all the parts of yourself, including the negative qualities that make you turn to consumption habits like vaping, scrolling, smoking weed, whatever it is that you want to maybe replace or turn away from, or you know whatever. It's accepting that those are part of your character, and so instead of like, oh, I need to remove these things and just create a perfect streak of positive momentum, it's okay, I as a being am a series of retreating circles. I have layers of myself, and in those layers includes maybe bad habits or whatever. But by taking that into your identity, like including it and saying, okay, I'm a character with flaws, with Achilles heels, with vulnerabilities that make me a more interesting protagonist to watch and to experience. um, the journey to self improvement, whatever that looks like, is going to be more fulfilling, because the self improvement is really just a byproduct of living your life. It's not the end goal. Does that resonate with you at all? Because you're kind of in a similar space.
I mean, it resonates with me on kind of like a marketing and branding level
Okay.
because if you, if you look at like Apple and Red Bull, right? You
Yeah.
kind of have to take an indirect approach to a degree. Like they don't make it about the product, they don't make it about money, they make it about the customer, and
Mm,
then they obviously get the money and like make the great product, right? Um, and I think the way I see it, that kind of lines up, right? Because they're not making it about quote self development or money. If we're those are the things that I think kind of line up because I think everybody's like, oh, I need to make money, I need to think about money. You do, but you kind of like I don't know. Have you read Think and Grow Rich?
no, I haven't. I
Okay.
haven't.
One of the messages in there, I read it a while ago, so I could be fucking wrong about this, but as I remember, one of the messages in that was kind of about like money. Getting money is not necessarily a game of force. I do kind of think it's a game of force because if you just do one thing 1,000 times and it makes money, you'll make money with it eventually. But it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a game of force, and you can't just like think about the money all the time necessarily. It's kind of a game of seduction. Like you kind of
Mm,
the way it's said is like you have to coo the money to you in a more, I don't want to say convincing, but I guess seducing way than
yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and because I see that as the same way. It's like with Red Bull, it's like their main goal is now. It seems like their main goal is to like break world records, do crazy shit, right? And everybody sees that, and then indirectly, like as a byproduct, they're also selling drinks, right? And it fucking crushes for them, right? And that's what Apple did too. Their main goal is all about the customer, right? It was customer first. It was like, this is who we serve. This is how we're going to serve them. We're going to do everything. This is our perfect customer. We're going to make the absolute best thing for this customer. And they happen to cell phones, right?
Mm, yeah, that's the Simon Sinek thing,
Yeah,
um, which I love. I always go back to that as
no,
well.
it's a great fucking clip.
Um, Start with why, right? That's the Simon Sinek thing.
Mhm.
Honestly, one of the most influential talks for me, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
and and him as a person, I've really modeled a lot after. I remember seeing him when I was like 16 and learning a lot from that. But yeah, sort of like the greater story beneath the thing within the thing.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. It's within my realm. It's not just about replacing scrolling or cutting out cheap dopamine habits. It's finding a more meaningful story or a meaningful why beneath that, so that then those negative voices, negative energy, behavior patterns kind of just fade into the background. When your attention goes to the why, when it goes to the meaningful thing, um, everything else fades away. So that's the application for me. But yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah. No, and also that like as you asked that resonates with me in so many other ways. Like that was just the one I used. It resonates with me with content. Like it used to be, I was trying to get views, and now I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna post videos that are about the things I like, and then if they happen to get views, they happen to get views, right? And like with dating, it was like I was gonna try to go on 100 dates to like up my chances, but I'm like, no, I'm just gonna look for a wife, and then if the byproduct of that is I probably will go on 100 dates, right? But like that's not the goal, you know. And the goal, I mean,
interesting.
the goal was to find a wife, but like I was kind of focusing on the wrong part of that action, right?
See, that's interesting because most of the time when I hear like that sounds like it's backwards from what I normally hear, which is like, oh, you want a wife, then you have to go on 100 dates, and then you're focused on the inputs, and the same thing for any other pursuit. But it sounds like you've reverse engineered that as well. So now, what does that look like for you? The goal is to, in that case, find a wife.
Mhm.
You might go on 100 dates in the meantime. How do you relate to that on a daily basis or a weekly basis? Do you just keep your attention fixated on the end goal?
So it kind of just it like it basically strengthens my filters, right? Because I'm sure you've done this too. You'll go on a date with someone and they're really great and they may be a great person, but they maybe do a few of your non-negotiables, right? And there's maybe some
What are
non-negotiables or quote non-negotiables that they don't meet, and you're like, oh, but they're really great, and then you negotiate your non-negotiables. I don't know if you've done
interesting?
that. I've done
No,
that.
I'm curious. What are your non-negotiables?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. I'm just curious because
No,
I've
no,
never
no,
thought
no,
about
it's
it that
fine.
way.
I'm not embarrassed of them. It's just, I mean, I guess they're
Are you in a relationship now?
no,
Oh. But in the
no.
past, you had a 2 month
Yeah, yeah,
relationship.
yeah, in the past, in the past.
Got it.
Um,
Cool.
hmm, what? Fuck, that's such a good question. I mean, I guess like at the end of the day, I just want to be respected, right? And I know
Yeah.
I'll do enough things that will get my own respect, right? But if I have a partner or a spouse, obviously I'm going to be submitting myself to them to a degree. So it's
Okay.
like I hope that they respect the same qualities. That's kind of what I look for. That's a non-negotiable I look for. And then it's like a lot of lifestyle things, right? Because I don't have any problem with someone like doing drugs or smoking weed or not working out, like live your own life. But
Yeah, those things
if,
are fun.
yeah, yeah, like if my partner's doing that, that's like I won't, or I will, and I don't want to,
Oh,
or I
okay.
won't, and then I'll like resent them for doing it. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of I can't do that. That's shitty, right? And then I want, I mean, I put like so much work into my body. I work out every single day. I
Mm,
would like I'm looking for someone who does the same, you know?
okay.
Um, I guess, yeah, I kind of just look for like lifestyle. Like if they have the same lifestyle, they care about health, they care about work, they care about,
Mhm.
all that. And then if they, hmm. What's interesting is actually the like more specific my standards have gotten and the older I've gotten, um, the, I guess everybody says this, but the less I even care about looks, like,
Is that right?
yeah, because I remember when I was younger, I was like, I don't think I'll ever not care about looks. It was like, so that's all I care about when I was like 16. Um, Well, I've definitely moved away from that, which is interesting, like pretty strongly. Because now it's just like, are you in shape? Yeah, are you in shape and like okay to look at? It's like boom, okay, if you have the other qualities, we're good. But
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's not even just the physical element there, but also the what that says about a person's values and making sure that that's in line with how you think about the world and what's important to you. You think about what that looks like on a day-to-day level.
mhm,
If there's an incompatibility there where you're very much invested in going to the gym and meal prepping and like that's a 3 hour investment potentially on a daily basis. So if you find someone who doesn't also appreciate the value in those things, there's going to be an immediate rift. So I can totally understand that.
mhm. You have non-negotiables?
Do I have non-negotiables? I've never thought about them in that way, where it's like a hard set list of this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. Obviously, like anyone, I have certain things that I'm more attracted to, and things that maybe I'm less attracted to. I'd say I am very attracted to compassion, um, and I think like depth, and that's very hard to operationalize. Just if you're someone who like has who's interested in things and who's fun to talk to, and that's a very wide category. I would say most people are. Um, I think most people are, and just sometimes you're just not. There's an energy gap, or like you're not the right fit for each other. Um, so it can be hard to describe, but sometimes you find someone who's like your type of quirky, or like and there's just an energy match right there. And then you combine that with there's some physical attraction, which is obviously necessary.
Mhm.
That's a big part of it. That's great. But then if there's someone who like I would say I'm very immediately taken by someone's human values. And it's also one of the things that immediately turns me away if it's not there, is if there's someone who's um, I'm certainly not attracted to like bully type qualities. Not necessarily even towards me, but like to other people. It's just
Yeah.
something that isn't. It's kind of a turn off for me. So it's I'm not at a place where I go into a date or something with a list of things like, okay, check, 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 or X, X, X. I'm sure that's not how you go about it either, but like, it's a more fluid kind of approach.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's fun. But yeah, it's been weird. I was in a long term relationship that ended last year, about a little over a year ago, and since then it's been weird. It's been a lot of I've spent most of that time in a kind of cocoon of my own making. Haven't been going out a lot. And certainly have not gone on 100 dates. Um, and I miss the intimacy of a close relationship for sure. Um, but on some level, just on that note, like I don't. A big part of me thinks that I'm not ready for another relationship until I've solved the inner problems that caused the end of the last one. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and so and there's still a lot of work to do there. So then the question becomes, in the meantime, do I go out with girls and talk to girls and have that be an active part of my life? Maybe not a committed relationship, but sort of more fun and loose. And um, or do I really just focus on myself and go kind of a monk mode route or whatever, which I've gravitated more towards because I'm not a hookup person. I don't think, at least not yet, not historically. I haven't really found my flow with that. I'm not sure if that's how I relate to people. Um, so I don't know. I'm still navigating all of that. Does any of that line up with your experience over the last year, or whenever in life?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, I definitely used to be more of a hookup person. I think I've moved away from that as I've realized that it just makes you sad and want to die, or at least for me. Um,
Is that right?
but um, I I never had like the monk mode period. Like I always have focused on myself, but I'm not gonna lie, like future wife or just girls has always been like I wouldn't say main driver, but at least 49%.
At
Like,
least 49%. That Yeah,
well,
wow. So that's
I would say just less than whatever the main driver is. I don't know. I think the main driver is
yeah,
like
yeah.
my own insufficiency or whatever. But fuck that. Who cares?
Wait, wait, wait. Hang on, just so I understand. The having a wife, having a long term committed relationship is the top priority for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Did I
it's
hear you right?
well, yeah. It's I mean, it's like the frame kind of through which I operate a lot of my decisions. It's like only like 10 or 20% of my like mental energy is spent like looking for a wife, and by that I mean dating and like is this person a fit, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I mean the other like 80%, all the other stuff I do is so that when I find the person who I'm like, that's the person who's up, who like I want that person. They're great. They
Mm.
are such an awesome person. They fit all like everything I want. And I want to make sure I'm everything they want, you know? So it's like that's a fair amount of the driver for putting work into myself. You know, and I want to make sure I am that person forever too. So
Yeah. Oh, for sure, dude. I've been thinking about that a lot. Or just the point there of
mhm.
um, putting this work into yourself for the future. I'll be honest. Feelings of insufficiency or feelings of inadequacy or I'm not good enough for this girl or for this type of life or whatever. All of the things that have kind of been spoon fed to us by the media and the culture around masculinity and stuff, and our natural desires for those things, like that will come up for me in the middle of a fucking step at the gym or something. Like, and I kind of lean into it a little bit. You know, if I were to make a video about it, it might be something that I don't touch on, or I don't lean into those feelings, but they do come up, and there's something there. I think like you want to use it. Yeah, I don't know. I think we probably share some of that. Um, a lot of insecurity that goes into this game.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's it. That's so interesting. Okay. On that note, what's your take on hate? Like,
What?
yeah, what's your take on internet hate?
Oh, internet hate, like trolls.
Yeah, trolls to a degree, or yeah, trolls. I'd say trolls.
Um, well, I mean, the way I understand it is in almost every case, someone who's leaving some bullshit is going through some bullshit,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's a good blanket statement for it, I think. Um, I know we've talked a little bit about this. I haven't experienced what you've gone through with this, and I don't know the full scope of what it is you've gone through, but um, I've been fortunate to receive a majority of positivity and support in what I posted. I think largely because of the clear intent to help with a lot of it.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's something I'm really appreciative of, and certainly I respond to on an emotional level. Like, whoa, this is a lot of positivity, and I have to sort through those feelings. I'll get an occasional troll, but it's not really hate. It's someone who's clearly just going through something and wants to get a little something, and so that doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Mhm.
Um, I've been fortunate to not get any hate. Um, but I think it's pretty much true in every case. If there's someone who is going out of their way to leave some negativity or to take you down, you can pretty much believe that they're not coming from a good place, or they're not in a good place themselves. And so then the immediate redirect is empathy or compassion for that person. That's something that I've learned from other creators. Like, that's been said. I've heard that said, and it just kind of makes sense. Um, I think the best response, if you are going to respond to something like that, the best thing you could send is to kill them with kindness, kind of thing. Like, send some red heart emojis, or hope you're okay. And I've seen creators do that, and I've always been struck by how much of an empowered take that is for them. You're immediately shielded from whatever negativity it was. I think the worst thing you can do is engage with it. I think that when it comes to making a video responding to hate or something like that, or because I saw you, I didn't watch it in its entirety, but you made like an apology video. I think that I don't know exactly what that was about. It's something we can definitely explore, but I think in general, like, that kind of stuff is best deployed when you truly feel like you have something to apologize for, when you personally feel like you have done something that deserves remorse or deserves a public reckoning or something like that. I think in most cases um, it might not help. I don't know though. Haven't gone through it myself. Um, but yeah, I think it can be a difficult thing. Where does your brain go with it? Because I know you've had a more intimate experience with that kind of thing.
Um, okay, interesting. Wow, okay. Yeah, very valid take. Um, my so I realized that the period where I was getting the most hate is when I was like in like the worst section of that like 3 month depression period, right?
Yeah,
Um, and I felt like it was all hate, but the reason, but then before that, when I would get hate and it would be like someone saying I was queer baiting or whatever, and I'm literally just being myself. I don't
right.
care. Like, it didn't bother me, right?
Yeah,
Because it was so obvious. It's just like, no, it's just that this is not true, right? Um, but all of this stuff was really bothering me. Like, all the things they were saying in this last like month of that period were like really just like hitting home, right? And coming out of that, what I realized, because it was just brutal. Like, I I'm not shocked I get through it, but it was much more painful than I thought it was going to be.
yeah,
Um,
I can
I
imagine.
realized like it's either hate and you don't care because it's bullshit, right? Because it is just someone trolling it. It's just someone going through their own thing, and they're like, "This person sucks," and it's like, "Oh, well, actually, you just are like an internet troll and you're stuck on your phone all day. Like, sorry, but it's either that or it's the truth and you don't like it, and that's why it hurts.
Okay, walk me through what that was like for you when it was that second case.
Um, so this is when I posted the video, and I guess like a section I actually apologize for, and I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and say apology later, but when I posted the video that I apologized for, a lot of people hated it because it was not me. I was just like, I was in like I don't want to say manic, but just like, I think just extreme, like excessively
Okay.
desperate place. Just
For
because
views.
like, I think for views, yeah. I think for views because you get so much in the beginning and then it slows down and it's like, oh, I need to get more of that. And then you get more desperate and then your videos get worse and then it slows down even more and then it spirals, right? Um, so it's extremely desperate. And that's where that video came from. And it was just so like abrasive in that it was just like a shock to the system, I think, for a lot of people watching me because it's not
Yeah.
like me.
Just what was the video? Just real quick. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
which one you're talking about.
I was really annoyed. I was just pissed off because I had fumbled like four wonderful girls. They were all wonderful people, and I was like this, and I had been like in the past. I was like, oh, like if someone is like, it's just not a match. Like, and they would just like ghost me or whatever. Like, and I was like, oh, it's just not a match. Like, whatever. It's if they're ghosting me, it's says more about them than it does about me. Then I was like, okay, this has happened with four like wonderful people. Like it has to be me. There has to be something with me, right? Like I am the only common denominator here. I said it in a much more angry way, but that's basically what I said. And I was like, I
Got it.
think it's my self control because I'd always be like, hey, I don't want to do anything on the first date, and I didn't want to do anything on the first date. And then when the opportunity came up, I like wouldn't be able to say no. And so I was like, I need to work on my self control. I'm going to do a 7-day fast. Um, and then I did that video got a lot of hate, and then I did 5 days, and I documented it. And then I also the goal was just I was going to see if I could lose 20 pounds in 5 days. It was more about the fast, but I kind of knew that was like waiting for that to happen. I lost lose 20 pounds in 7 days. Then I lost 20 pounds in 5 days, and I didn't finish the fast. And then like that was just a weird period. And then I apologize. Like that is kind of the thing I apologize for because it was just like intense emotional decision making.
Yeah.
Which was a mistake that I hope everybody learns from. Not pleasant to make. Uh, and
Well,
then, yeah, go for it.
yeah. I'm just curious. Where do you think you were coming from when you made those string of videos?
Just desperation, honestly, like desperation and probably like upset with myself to some degree. I mean,
Mm.
because especially when you get a ton of the reinforcement, right? You kind of tend to, or at least I equated my self worth with the speed at which my account was growing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's
Um,
easy to do.
Very easy. Yeah, and not even
Yeah.
the number because like 100,000 feels like 10. Like, nothing changes.
Yeah.
Um,
It's true. It is a bottomless pit.
yeah,
I'm struggling with that myself. I just want to point out, Reed, we're both very young to be going through these kinds of things. And by these kinds of things, like very potent emotional stuff that's happening. Like when you see that kind of attention coming to you, that is a crazy thing to have happen. And I just want to validate that for you because you're not. It's not crazy to be very affected by that. And I can understand where you're coming from and wanting to maintain that. And I think the fact that you're thinking about these things and you're aware of where you might be vulnerable and where the blind spots are, I think is great. So I just want to give you that because this is hard. I'm 23, you're 20, right?
mhm,
Yeah, you're very like you're coming out of your teenage years, and arguably our chemical systems are still really hardwired for social validation, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved, wanting to have status, right? If there's any level of insecurity from early childhood where you were made to feel less than, personally, this is what's happening for me, right? Where like, here's an opportunity to climb the hierarchy. It's not a front and center all the time, but I can't deny that there's that voice there. So, these things are all just kind of swarming. The real work that we're doing now is dealing with it. So anyway, I just mean all of that to say I wouldn't um, beat yourself up too much. I think you just adjust. I think you're in a position where you can move on.
Thank you very
I'm
much,
not
man.
sure how you're thinking about it. Yeah, but like onward, truly.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
100%, man.
yeah, so that like after all of that, basically I just spiraled downward. And then like 2 weeks after that, I just like stopped posting for a few days for the first time in a while. Um, and then I asked a mentor, I'm like, what should I do? And he was like, I shouldn't have listened. It should not have gotten through my filter. This is 100% my fault. He's like, just delete the posts and don't say anything. And I'm like, and I did it. And I felt gross about that for like a week and a half. Cause like, duh, you know. Um anyway, a few weeks later, I was like, okay, I told myself I would do a 7-day fast. I tried and I failed. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about this on social media. I'm just gonna do this, right? I did it. It was absolutely brutal. I'm never doing it again. I fucking hate not eating. I lost like I literally lost 20 pounds, gained 20 pounds, lost 25 pounds. It's brutal. But who cares? Yeah, I fucking hated that. I'm never not eating again. Anyway, then I still just felt like so I started keeping my promise to myself. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the fast. I'm gonna just I don't and I kind of just stopped making promises to myself altogether. I'm like, I'm just not even gonna tell myself I'm gonna do anything. And then I just happened to start making my bed, and I just happened to start being a little more focused. Happened to start using my phone less, so that worked. Um, and then I felt so gross about just deleting everything and not saying anything for like a week, and I don't know why the fuck I did. That's for anyone listening. If you ever make a mistake publicly, just immediate admit it as soon as it happens. As soon
Yeah,
as it happens.
here's the thing, Reed. I haven't seen the videos themselves, but from what you've told me in the last 10 minutes, um, it doesn't sound like you made a fatal human error. I mean, it doesn't sound like you committed an egregious act. There was no atrocity here. It sounds like you just were at worst a little bit cringe in a couple videos.
It's true.
Um, am I thinking about that? Am I missing anything big here? Was there
It's
anything worse than that?
no. It's more what it meant to me. Like I
Sure.
don't.
Well, I get that. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. Right. So if you feel like you acted out of alignment with yourself, that's where it would make sense that you'd want to have some catharsis or call that out. Um, so I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like it was super off brand. I didn't want to be that person. And I led into that. The beginning of that video was an apology, like, hi, I want to apologize, and then pretty immediately I was like, I guess it's not really an apology because internet apologies never fucking mean anything. And then I was like, but I made these mistakes, and if anyone else is going to think about doing this, you should watch this video because like these are the mistakes I made, and I don't want anyone else to make them, right? So it was more honestly, it was more of just one of the videos I usually make. It was just disguised as it was packaged as an apology video, which I mean, I am. Everyone in the comments was like, "Oh, we didn't care," and I was like, "Yeah, I didn't think so. Like nobody cared. Like nobody cares. I care, you know." And that it was more. That was kind of like that kind of marked the shift of when my content became about me, like me for me, like about me for me. Also, like for the person watching, because that's like you have to make it about the audience, but like me to me, and like something
Mm,
I would want to watch. I feel it's a lot easier. Honestly, it's a lot easier.
mm, yeah. Do you think that you would make videos still if you had either a much smaller audience or potentially no audience at all?
Yeah,
You would.
yeah, has them. Yeah, I mean that because I did it for 8 months like that, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this for the next 5 years.
It's
At
pretty
that
long
point,
term thinking. As a
thank
as
you.
a 20-year-old, 19, 20-year-old, that's pretty long term thinking.
Thank you. I got lucky and I got into Hormozy early. Um, but yeah, I like decided I was like, okay, basically Hormozy was like, if you don't have any skills, just make videos because like if you don't know where to start, like you should build your brand because it's really easy to make money if you're famous or if you have a lot of reach, right? If you have a big brand, you could be like, he says it's easier to sell stuff, it's easier to hire people, just all together. It's basically just a bunch of connections to a degree, right? And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I want to do, so I'll just make it easier to do what I want to do at some point whenever I figure it
Interesting.
out. And then just over like the better you get at videos, the more it becomes, oh, actually, I like videos.
Mm,
Yeah. But now I would definitely keep doing it 100%.
Yeah. Have you gotten through the progress and the consistency? Have you gotten clearer on what a potential 5-year goal might look like for you?
Yeah, I think in 5 years, if I posted like 3,000, 4,000 times, I'll be good with
Right.
that. And if I've like strengthened my brand with myself, if I've strengthened my belief that I am me and that I am who I want to be, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. I think a lot of people don't take that approach. They think about how do I become the world's top yoga expert? And I think that's great. Truly. Like I think that's a great thing to aim at. It's not the goal, it's how you transform on the way to the goal, blah blah blah. Destination or journey is the destination. But what you've pointed out is that it sounds like the goal for you is the inputs.
Mhm.
3,000, 4,000 videos, getting clear on yourself, full process focus. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's interesting because it's actually, well, okay. I'm actually going to tie this back into the dating. We're going to come full circle here. So I think to a degree, my goal is still go on dates,
Okay.
right? And meet people, but because my goal is still post videos, right? But
Mm,
the frame through which I'm doing those things has been like massively strengthened and more defined, right? So it was go on dates and just kind of to go on dates, right? And it was make videos kind of to make videos. Now it's make videos through the lens of I'm building a brand and I'm building like a connection with the people who follow me. I'm building trust and like I want them to know who I am. And I need to like have such a strong pillar and presence and like this is me, rather than just make videos to make videos. And for example, with dating, it stopped being just go on dates to go on dates to go on dates with the express intention of finding not this specific person, but somebody who's going to work.
okay. Work for you.
Um, thank you. Yeah, work for me, and who obviously I'm going to work for them. But uh, so yeah, I mean, it is definitely focusing on the inputs. I mean, it's easier to do that, way easier to do that if you just stretch the fuck out of the time limit you're getting yourself, right? And it's interesting because it's like if you give yourself a huge time limit, like if I'm like I hope I'm just gonna make videos for the next 30 years, which I probably will to be honest, but it can get if you don't have any agency, obviously you can procrastinate. It's like, oh, I didn't make a video today. Oh well, 30 years,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you kind of have to like give yourself mini goals, post every day or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah. I'll be honest, Reed, you remind me a lot of Hormozy, a little bit. Um, a little bit in the way you talk, but a lot of the mindset as well. And I'm sure that some of that has come from being immersed in his stuff. Um, but it seems like you're wired that way a little bit. I'm curious a little bit about your. I know you started a content agency or something,
hmm,
and it sounds like a lot of this. While you do have the long game in mind and you want to see how this transforms you, it sounds like you're also thinking about the business side of things. Walk me through where you're at on that side of the journey.
thank you. God damn, I was supposed to be interviewing you. You're too good at this shit. Um, I
I'm curious. I'm really curious.
God, see, yeah, that's why you're so good at it. I let's see. So I walked around to all like the restaurants in my area. This was like 3 months ago. All the restaurants in my area because I mean I live in Pasadena. I live in like old Pasadena. Our house is like about as big as I'm in my childhood bedroom right now. I'm like seeing my parents for the weekend, but
Cool.
thank you. Our house is 20 by 20. It's 400 square feet, and there's two of us, and it's a studio. It's very small. Um, Pasadena is very nice. That's the only way we can afford it is if we split like a one person, not even one bedroom house, right? And it's beautiful. Pasadena is beautiful, and the restaurants are pretty upscale. So I was like, okay, well these people all have money. Like if I make them a bunch of videos for free and like blow them up for free, they'll probably be able to pay me to keep doing it, right? So I asked every single restaurant like within a 2 mile radius because we kind of live right in the middle of downtown. Every single one said no except for this one sushi place, but then it turned out they like wanted me to make like an ad, like a really done up thing. And I'm like, oh, and just to post on social media, not even to run as paid ads. And I was like, okay, well, how many times do you see that just come up on your page, on your For You page? Never, right? I don't think I've ever seen, just maybe like one time a few years ago, but it's like nobody cares. Like nobody cares about like a super high quality food ad looking videos. Like nobody gives a shit. Um, and they didn't want to do the type of videos I wanted to do. And granted, the type of videos I wanted to do were worse. I wanted to do like not prank content, not prank content, but like, oh, this this customer was unhappy with this dish. Chef, can you fix it? And then like go through them making the dish, and then you get a bunch of people to
Yeah,
watch making dish without. Because
it's a
if you
good
say,
idea.
yeah, thank you. Because if you say let's make whatever this food is, nobody gives a fuck, right? But if it's like this customer's angry, everybody cares, right? But they didn't want to do those, rightfully so. And then I was like, okay, well, I just don't think I can work with you guys. I mean, nothing but respect, like great business. They had great food. They clearly cared. They're Michelin star sushi restaurant. Like you guys, like I respect the excellence. I genuinely don't think we can work together. I don't think it'll work. And they were cool about it. They're like, cool, whatever. And then I walked down, like just next door, there's like this boba shop that just opened. And I was like, okay, they just opened. Like they must not have a lot of Instagram followers. I could probably make a big change there for them. And it was true. I walked in, I was like, hey, can I make videos for you guys for free? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, wow, that was easy. Um, and then I like started with the idea of the prank content, and then I thought about not prank content, but
I'm with you. I know
yeah, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of hate making these videos. Like I just hate making them. And then fucking God's gift to man. Do you know who Ryan McGinn is?
Was this the guy you saw at the conference? Or
Oh
no,
yeah, in
someone else.
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, we fucking call that. Yeah. You're right. I went to his workshop at exactly the right time. Like it couldn't have been better timed. And he taught me everything they do with asking questions and like asking questions to people to get them to tell a whole story, right? And I'm like, oh my God, this is genius. So then I went to the boba shop. I'm like, we're not doing fucking prank content. We're doing this. And I'm like, this guy worked with X person who I can't name because of an NDA, X person who I can't name because of an NDA, X person who I can't name because of an NDA. And they were like, oh my God. I'm like, and he taught me how to do it. So we're going to do this. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. That's awesome. And so we actually, I have a bunch of their videos like being edited right now, but I'll get on my in Premiere. But that's where it is right now. I mean, I'm still doing it for them for free. I think
Cool.
I'm probably gonna make them. I mean, I'm just gonna do it until it blows up for them. I think I'll get them to blow up in like 400 or 500 videos probably.
400 or 500 videos. My God, dude, you are long game read. That's what you are.
Thank
I,
you, Josh.
it's
Hey,
no,
thanks,
it's a
bro.
great quality, man. It's a great
Thank
quality.
you.
I think especially for our age is like the short-sighted thinking and the quick hit instant gratification conditioning is really hard to break through.
So trained. It's wild. It's like
Where did that
go for it.
sorry, I didn't mean no, I
No,
didn't mean
you're
to
all
cut
good.
you off. Curious where that thinking came from. Was that Hormozy? Was that another level of exposure? Where'd you get that?
So I think the reason Hormozy resonated with me so deeply is because I already had a lot of those beliefs inside me, and he just put them into words, right? Which is I think the reason why he resonates with a lot of people so deeply, because a lot of people believe the things he's saying already. He just confirms them and then like tweaks them in a little bit, and it's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, right? He's very like clear. He sees reality very clearly. At least it feels that way. And the where I got those beliefs before was all sports, like all sports, and actually math. When I was 7 years old, right? That's when I learned like multiplication, and I was okay at multiplication in the beginning, and I just got so fucking into it. I got obsessed with multiplication, and I would just spend my free time doing times tables. And I would ask the teacher for extra times tables homework so I could just do times tables because they were that fun. Uh, that didn't carry over much longer, but for like a year, I was just like obsessed with those. And then we do the timed like multiplication tests. Oh wait, well, I'm so sorry. 1 second.
You're good.
I did the times multiplication tests, and everybody in the class, I mean, we'd have like 60 seconds to do like however many problems. Everybody in the class would get like 10 or 15, and I would just finish it every time because I was so obsessed with it. I don't care about the result. Like, it's fucking second grade, obviously. I don't give a shit. Um, and then a few years later in baseball, when I played baseball in 8th grade, I got super fucking into baseball. I hit 300 balls a day every single day for a year, right? And I just got so into it. And then just as a byproduct of that, because I just love doing the thing so much, as a byproduct of that, I was like the best hitter on my team. Again, don't really care about the best hitter on my team part. It was just like I got obsessed with that and it worked, right? And then coming out of high school, I went to college and I was like, I just can't do this, right? I knew I was going to drop out. And then I found Hormozy, and he just like did such an insanely good job of validating the only skill I had, which was the obsession.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, you can absolutely just pick one thing and do a ridiculous amount of it and it's going to work. It just has to be the right thing. And then he tells you the right things. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to go do those. And it worked with the videos. I mean, I just did as much as I possibly could. I continue to do as much as I possibly can. And you just it works. If you do so many things, so many times of one thing, you're going to get really good at that thing, right? Or just better
Right.
at least, right? And so a fair amount of it was definitely inside me. And also with the delayed gratification, I mean, that's just like all. I mean, I played sports for my whole life, and it's just sports. Like, sports is always delayed gratification. Like, for example, in,
Interesting.
in volleyball, I played in senior year. We kind of started up a team. It was the first year I ever played, and I did these big top spin jump serves where you throw the ball up, you run and approach and jump and swing, right? And I did every single day. I would get to practice hours early. I would serve the entire time for 4 hours a day, every day, right? And I was on independent study, so I didn't really have to go to school. I literally just served. And then at practice, I'd serve a fair amount. And then after practice, we'd go to an open gym and I would serve there, right? And I'd practice there. And I would miss probably 5/6 of the serves. And in the beginning, I probably missed my first 2,000, right? 2,000. And then they start to go in, right? And then they get more consistent. And even now, I mean, I haven't played in a while. I played yesterday for the first time in a while, but I mean, I miss a fuck ton still. But you get a lot better, a lot faster, right?
Mm.
Because if you're willing to just swing as hard as you possibly can and miss every ball, eventually you're going to start swinging as hard as you possibly can and putting it in, right? And that's just what happened.
Mm.
Everybody else was making their serves the whole time, and they still at the end of the season they were still making their serves, but I was also making my serves, and theirs were going 50 and mine were going 75. Or I probably not 75, but fast, whatever fast is. Something like that,
Yeah. I'm with you. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
So
probably learn a lot from that.
yeah. I don't know, that definitely just did a really strong job forming the I guess the late gratification, right? And then obviously going to the gym. I mean,
Mm.
everybody preaches the gym so greatly because
Seems like a lot of people really start there. I've been seeing that narrative a lot.
Where did you start?
Sorry?
What did you what made you start?
Like all of this?
Yeah.
Let's see. I got into fitness as well in high school. I was never into sports as a kid, it just wasn't my thing. Didn't enjoy it, didn't find one that I liked. Did a
Mhm.
little bit of soccer, but it wasn't it. I did theater. That was what I enjoyed. And so that's what got me into performance and creativity. That was the first outlet I found that really connected me with other people. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. It was great. Ticked all the boxes. So on some level, that's kind of what I'm channeling now. It's kind of an outlet like that. Um, but then in high school, yeah, I was insecure about my body. Wasn't in great shape and wanted to be. Cosmetically, I wanted to look better. I wanted to have a six pack. The whole thing every 14-year-old goes through. But then they start doing crunches and push ups in their room. That's
Mhm.
what it looked like for me. I started doing planks.
Mhm.
Seemed like the easiest low barrier to entry workout I could possibly do. It's like, yeah, let's just hold a plank for 2 minutes, and that's a workout. So I started with that, and then gradually turned the dial up until I got really obsessed with it in a kind of unhealthy way. And it was this very limited, constrained way of thinking about training and fitness. And I was doing 7.5 minutes of a plank at a time. And then I would switch, I would get over to a side plank and do 6.5 minutes on that side. And then I would get over and do the other one for 6.5 minutes. And then I would do the same routine in the afternoon after school. And so I was spending, upwards of 40 minutes a day just in the plank position.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and I would add on other stuff. I would do some push-ups. I knew very little about how to train right, as I think no one does, but it was really just that feeling of intensity and wanting to go up. It was not sustainable, led to some really unhealthy thought patterns. That's a whole story, but that was kind of what got me into the feelings of intensity, and I gravitated towards kind of self-improvement culture, was very much sucked into that rabbit hole. As I've gotten a little bit older, my opinions around it have shifted, and my way of communicating it, I obviously think about how do we actually make this sustainable, what works, because I know it certainly didn't when I was 14, 15, 16. um, but that's how I got into that. And then in terms of the videos, yeah, I would say probably similar. Even though I was a lifelong creative and I've always wanted to tell stories and express myself and be the artist, the thing that actually got me to start posting was this idea of online business and building an online writing business. That was what got me to start writing on Twitter. And then from there, got into video a little bit and realized that was kind of my jam, because I was leaning into what I was naturally good at, what I always gravitated towards. And so since then, it's really just been a transformation, or a regression back into what I enjoy, what's natural for me, what my basic artistic instincts are, and then finding a way to merge that with online business and providing value to people. So that's been the journey. I sort of like went this way and then found my way back to who I really am.
Mhm.
So, and it incorporates a lot of the philosophies around how to live a meaningful life, and what I enjoy in my own life. The fitness and the strength training, reading, what is traditionally seen as self-improvement. I just try to reframe it now so that it's more accessible and less binary black and white. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Does that make
How'd you
sense?
come up with character creation? Like what caused you to come up with that?
Well, I love fiction. I love movies and stories and things like that. And that's always been the most inspiring way to think about meaningful transformation, is kind of like the hero's journey, right? Joseph Campbell has like the 12 stages, envisioning the hero's journey. I don't think it needs to be as um, exact and precise as that, but um, that's where I get the most inspiration. And so viewing yourself as a protagonist or a character, in a narrative, is much more interesting than I am a problem to be solved, or my life won't be complete until I have this body or this amount of money or things like that, which I think is what traditional self improvement can trap you in. Now, keep in mind, the character creation path on the surface, the inputs, the actual actions that you do might be identical with someone who's in a self improvement arc. They might be the same thing. You might be going to the gym, you might be reading, writing, building a business, trying to build relationships, go out and meet people. All of those things might be the exact same thing, but the story that you're telling yourself around it is different, and it's part of something else. The thing I always go back to is, like, you look at all the popular protagonists in all fiction, and in almost no cases were they solely motivated by self improvement. They were just doing something. There was the movie or the book or the story is not about self improvement on its own. It's about something else. It's about solving a bigger problem, something that's bigger than the character. It's the narrative, and then self improvement is something that happens as a byproduct of that. They go through trials, they face dragons, they go up against adversaries, and through that process become a better, more stronger, more capable, more full character. And so that kind of approach it resonates with me more than the pure David Goggins self improvement core.
Mhm.
I think that works for a lot of people. I think it works for a lot of dudes. Um, I gravitate. I respond to it. I respond to it. But it leaves something to be desired for. There's a need for a greater story. There's a need for a larger narrative, and so that's kind of what I've been trying to find.
That was beautiful. That's awesome. I mean, that like when I watch your videos, it always shocks me how different the outlook is than because I mean I like all the content I consume is self improvement, right? For like
Yeah.
business, right? Um, and nobody's talking about it like you do. Like nobody that I've seen. Hormozy talks about it a little bit like that, but he doesn't do it as directly.
Well, he's the epitome of that archetype. He does it very, very well. I agree with
Mhm.
you that the way he communicates is very clear, and he has so much conviction in every part of his body and his voice and everything. So I think he's a good example. And of the people in that space, I can totally see the appeal. And I think he's right about a lot of things. Um, but it's just one side of the story. And like you are more than that. I think you know the you risk becoming one dimensional, or you risk leaving all of these blind spots in your game or in your person by
Mhm.
just zooming into that. How do I make as much money as possible? How do I build a great body? Both very important parts of the equation, 100%. But there's more, and I think that the story can afford to be more interesting. It can have more facets. Um, I'm more compelled by art and creativity than self improvement,
Mhm.
and the journey over the last year has been allowing those things to coexist.
That's
You know
awesome.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Does
no,
that click? Does
yeah,
that
1,000%. No, I agree. I mean, the more it's like, I mean, it's just like it ties back into branding and dating and like videos. It's like it's never the thing you want. Well, at least for me, has to be the byproduct of the thing I'm doing. You know,
right? Yeah, 100%.
like I don't know. It's so strange because you have to go about getting what you want in an indirect way. At least I do. But like if I focus, it's like if you're trying to lose weight, you don't focus on your weight, you focus on the food you're eating, right?
Mm.
You know, it's I think it's sometimes hard to find that like what is that one step away thing that you do focus on to get the thing that you want. Which is why I like your content so much because you like give at least me right some level of roadmap to be like, oh, okay, you don't have to focus so heavily on just trying to be better, right? You could just find a
Yeah,
reason that you want to be better, and then you don't even have to focus on it. It just happens because you focus on the reason.
yeah, 100%.
And I just like I have been doing that. Like the more like ever since I just like hit the rock bottom and have been coming up, I've been focusing on that and just like speechless.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Well, what would you say is the goal of your videos now?
Um to put out stuff that I like and that I like how
Okay.
it, like I don't look like a dick. Um or I don't feel like I'm looking like a dick.
Mm.
Just
Hmm.
like I just want it to be me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really admirable. I resonate with that in particular because when I say words like humanizing the internet,
Mhm.
to me, that means shifting the culture around what is shared online, so that there is a default to bring your humanity, your authenticity, the truest version of yourself, the truth to the
Mhm.
screen, as opposed to a single dimension of you, or um, you know, yeah, like having a persona that's all about self improvement when really you're. I don't know. There. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say there. What stands out to me is the desire to be yourself and to be truthful and to kind of figure out what that looks like, because you can't. That's the other thing, I meant to say this earlier, but you can't bring 100% of yourself to it. I think that would be a problem, right? If you shared every single one of your inner thoughts and insecurities and doubts about yourself, that would be too much. And I think that that's something we have to learn to do as well. It's like that's not helpful. If your goal was to be helpful and to put the truth on screen and make it helpful or make it meaningful or worth watching in some way, you can't include everything. Um, you know, so and you're going to have parts of yourself that are not appropriate to share, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, that's the game that we're playing, is finding out where those boundaries are. Or that's what stands out to me about your situation right now, because it sounds like that was kind of the difficulty. It's like you shared something that maybe is relevant, valid, something for you to work through, something to journal about, just might not have been something to share publicly, and certainly not to that many people. And then that's where the rift came from. But I don't think that makes you a bad person or a dick or anything like that. It's just you're just finding out where those boundaries are.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, that's how I look at it too. I mean, at the end of the day, now I know and I wouldn't have known before, right?
Yeah.
And also going through all that, I mean, it just like it hardened me the fuck up. And I just like I much less bothers me now than did 2 months ago. And I mean, I learned I think more than I've ever learned in that short of a period of time from that.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I mean, I talk about it as something to avoid, right? But I wouldn't be talking about it as something to avoid if I didn't know to avoid it. So I'm more than grateful that that quote mistake
Yeah,
happened, right? And yeah, like yeah, it's part of the game.
it totally is. Yeah. Um, yeah, man, that's cool. I'm excited for you.
Thank you, Josh. I'm excited for you. So, okay, brief outro. Uh, where are you going? Like, what is, what are you, what are you working towards for the next period of time?
Yeah, I'm just kind of turning the dial up on everything. So that I've found to be helpful, that I enjoy making. Um, Working on obviously getting the community into a good flow where I can give it the time and attention it needs and actually help people. Figuring out what that looks like. That's been something. Um, More writing, more content, more longer form, more creativity. Um, I'd like to put together a speaking event. I'm working to do that and then bring this kind of messaging to live events, schools, potentially businesses. Um, and then also hopefully this year a book, a written book that I have a pretty solid idea for, but it's just going to take a lot of time and attention. But it's one of those things that's very easy to put on the back burner because I want to get everything else figured out first. But essentially, just scaling up the mission and scaling up what I do and upskilling myself to be the best, to be capable of doing it. I keep going back to, I try to keep coming back to service and functional art is just top of mind for me all the time because I want to create art and I want to express myself and I'm a creative and I'm doing this to satisfy my own appetites in that sense, and that's great. That's really what gives the work its heart, I think. If I can also really make it functional and have it serve a purpose, then I can feel really good about sharing it. I can feel like it has a place online, and that even if it doesn't perform well by my own standards, it is helpful and meaningful. um, that's the way that I think about it. And so just getting better, it is very much a focus arc though. It's like I'm realizing that to do what I want to do at the scale that I want to do it, it's going to take some real focus and locking in, right?
Mhm.
And some obsession. And what's funny is I've been in a kind of cocoon. Like I said, there's not a lot going on in my world right now. I'm also living at home, just kind of giving my full time and attention to this, and I'm cool with it. It's a very different place than to be living at home without, just kind of gratifying your more sensory desires, which I've been in that place as well a lot. But now I'm not there anymore. I'm really pouring myself into what I'm doing, which feels good.
Mhm. Wonderful.
Yeah. How about you, man? What's next for you?
I mean, yeah, just turning up the dial. I want to go from two videos a day to, I think I want to get to six in a few months on all
Wow.
platforms. That'd be sick. And that's just for me. I think I want to be doing two or three for the shop I'm working with, and then if I get more clients somehow, uh, do two or three a day for all of them. Um, yeah, I mean, I
Love it.
think I'm sure I'm excited because I think there's going to be a lot of hardships coming up,
Okay.
and I think those are just going to sharpen me even more. And I mean, I personally like that, you know.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's the thing I'm looking forward to most. I think. I mean, just like everything's just going to be turning up the dial, which is going to mean turning up the hate and turning up the negative thoughts as well. Like you can't get more
Well,
good or bad.
stay true to yourself, man. You have a good sense about this, and you have a very natural presence on screen. So I would just keep doing your thing, and truly, I wouldn't overthink it. It sounds like it can be easy for you to be hard on yourself, and um, myself included with that. But trust yourself, really. I think that if you lean into the truth and you lean into what is true for you, you can trust it. You can trust the truth. So just keep doing your thing, and let everything else fall where it does. You have some really good values in place. So just stay true to you and let yourself figure it out. I think the whole journal entry approach, people looking back on these years and the amount of output that you're doing, it's going to be a really interesting way to watch yourself grow up in real time. So I'm excited for that as well.
Thank you, Josh. I am too. Truly, I am. Damn. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for listening. That's the end of the episode. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you guys like Josh at least a quarter as much as I do. He's a fucking savage. Like he's just an awesome guy. Like all around one of the best people I think I've ever met. So anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and If no one said it to you, you guys maybe don't deserve a wonderful day, but you can sure as hell go make it. So go make yourself a wonderful fucking day. Nobody deserves anything. That's why I said that. Go have a great day.